Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. In this video I'm going to be converting these jump pack intercessors into something a little bit more aligned with my personal tastes. Now these are perfectly good miniatures and I'm very pleased the Primaris range has jump pack assault troops again, but there's a lot about them I don't really like myself personally. I don't like the design of the new jump pack. I think the older ones are better. I don't like the vents at the top, they're too close together. I don't like the anime fins on the back, that's definitely not my kind of thing. I don't like the thrusters on the back of the legs, and I don't really like the way the models are positioned on top of rubble piles to make it look like they're flying. My attitude with flight bases is piss or get off the pot, you know what I mean? I don't like the in-betweeny stuff like that. It never ends up looking good in my view. So I don't like pretty much everything new they've done with these, and for that reason I'm going to try and make them look a little bit more like firstborn jump pack assault troops. Even though I'm a Primaris fanboy, I think they are really classic looking miniatures, and I want to really evoke that in this conversion. So stay with me to see what I do. The first thing I do is to get rid of those thrusters on the back of the legs that I dislike. I just come in and snip those off with some hobby clips with zero finesse. After that, I try to tidy it up nicely with a hobby blade with scraping motions, trying to follow the contours of the rest of the leg to make it look as good as I can. I then create a panel line at the back with some careful knife work just to make the whole thing look a little bit more natural. Incidentally, it does look a lot better when it's painted up, so you'll have to bear with me on that one, guys. After I've done that, I actually put the miniature together, torso and legs, so I can get an idea of overall posing. At this stage, I chop off the rubble piece from the bottom of the foot there because I really dislike how they're presented in that way. I'm going to connect my intercessors straight to the base, make it look like they're running and jumping, and I think that's going to look an awful lot better. In order to do that, I'm going to have to pin them to the base. I strongly advise doing that because there's so little contact with the foot and the base. They are just going to be really unstable otherwise. So yeah, highly recommend pinning with this particular conversion. So I drill into the foot on a diagonal. You can get quite a deep hole if you hit it at the right angle. And I then drill a corresponding hole into the base, just using the miniature to kind of assess where it needs to go. And after I've done that, I get a little bit of wire, similar gauge wire to the hole that I've just drilled, drop a bit of super glue into the hole in the foot and insert the wire as far as it will go. I leave a good length of wire off the end, just it gives me something to work with later on. After that's nicely dried and set, I then poke the wire through the hole in the base and just kind of rotate it round to make sure I've got the position and the posing right. Some people would bend the wire around underneath. I don't do that. I actually snip off most of the wire with hobby clips and leave just a little nub just poking through the hole, and that really is sufficient to give it plenty of stability. So there we are, just a small amount left out the bottom, look, does the job nicely. A little bit of rotation and posing again, paying a bit of attention there, and then I just drop a little bit of super glue from underneath and then from on top. Need to use super glue with these things because of the metal in the wire, but as it happens I use super glue for everything anyway, so happy days for me. I do the same thing with all 5 jump pack intercessors from the kit. I then grab some older style jump packs, and I really prefer the look of these jump packs over the new ones, and decide to use those for the conversion. So in order to use those, I have to kind of chop off the bottom part of the jump pack. So these little cylindrical things at the bottom here, they go. I did work hard to try and preserve the skull on the jump pack. As it happens, that really wasn't important for the end result, but that's why I'm being super careful here. So I come underneath the skull, clipper that off, and then tidy that up with a sharp blade, just so I can get a nice connection for later on. So just a little bit of work to make that nice and straight goes a long way for later. So once all that's been done, you end up with something that looks a little bit like this. I then raided the jump pack intercessor kit, and this is part of the Primaris jump pack I've got here, as you can see in my hand, and I basically decimate that. I want just a small portion of that piece for my conversion, so I chop up the sides like so. Hobby snips all the way for me, just the quickest and easiest way to do it. You could use a craft knife if you wanted to be neater, but there's not really a massive need for that at this stage of the build anyway. So I kind of cut it down to this size first, and I only want the bottom triangle. So I'll just show you with the blade. It comes across there, just in that little kind of change of angle. Do you see what I mean? Just about there. All right, so that little straight bit at the top, that comes off as well. Go careful as you're doing this. You may want to use a hobby blade to do that to make it neater. As it happens, I just clipped it off and then I tied it up with a blade, my normal procedure. So that's what you end up with, and that's quite important. That's kind of what we want. And the reason we want that component is because that will allow us to get a nice attachment onto the back of the jump pack intercessor itself. We've got a little bit of a nub there that will attach into that component, and that will make sure that we sight the jump packs correctly on the back of the miniature and consistently as well. So I just need to tidy up that connection point on the back of the intercessor there, just to make sure that it doesn't get in the way for later on. At this point, I attach that awkward little triangle where it's supposed to go on the back of the intercessor onto the attachment point, and that will provide some consistency on where these things are attached, so I'm not kind of having to kind of second guess where to put those jump packs and kind of eyeball it. That's the general idea. Then you would glue the jump pack on the back, but do wait until the end because I do some further modifications, okay? So just bear with me, guys. I go back and correct some stuff. I then put these jet pipes that are from the intercessor kit onto the firstborn jetpack, and they fit on there beautifully actually, and they just create a bit of a different look, a bit of an elongated look to it. May not be for everyone, you don't have to do this at all, it's perfectly fine to leave them off, it's all a matter of taste. And I just use some markings on the jetpack and the pipe themselves just to kind of line them up nicely, and again sort of add some uniformity to how they appear. And yeah, it's important to say that I went back and corrected something here. So the jump pack wasn't sitting quite right for me on the back there. So I decided to snap them off because I use super glue all the time. I can do that. So I snapped them off and just trimmed this bit down at the back here, this little block here on the back of the backpack area. I kind of trimmed that down more flush with a sharp knife. And I did this on all of them. It was across the whole squad. And that corrected the problem of having a bit of a gap at the back and it looking a little bit awkward and just sitting kind of proud. You know, it just wasn't looking quite right. This allows the whole thing to sit more flush against the rest of the backpack, and was definitely a better step. Just obviously you would do this earlier on in the process. I'm showing you in the order of how it all happened here, guys, so bear with me. I then decided to cover up that awkward seam at the back using those fins that I don't like on the intercessor jump pack, just to hide that kind of awkward seam. It's a shame to cover up the skull at the back, but I think the overall look is better. So if you enjoyed the content, guys, please consider liking and sharing. It really does help the channel to grow. And if you're not already subscribed, consider giving me a sub. I'm going to throw a basic paint job down on these now, just my homebrew chapter colours. And do let me know what you think. Bit of a labour of love, and definitely not going to be to everyone's taste, but I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are on it. Thanks ever so much, guys. Cheers.